Some of the structures are so smooth, they're not made out of indigenous material of the moon. So what are they?
What do you think you'd find at Area 51 now compared to your experience of 51?
I am certain, knowing that crowd, they done moved most everything out of there. And they're using that base as a perfect smokescreen. They'll tell you that when the moon got here, do you know it stopped only 22,000 miles away from Earth? Hi, my name is David Adair. For the last 45 years, I've made a living as a space industrial transfer consultant. I have numerous clients in various operations, and everything that I've been doing, I started when I was a child, like 10, and I've worked ever since until around age 49. I retired. I did okay in life, and I hadn't stopped. I'm still working on some of the stuff that I've been working on for the last 4 decades. And now I'm presently engaged in the middle of an operation that will now take all of my projects and bring them online, and we'll see how that works. But if it does, my operating budget is about nearly 60 times that of NASA. So I'm looking at $1 trillion budget that I can have. And if that happens, like I said, I know what to do the first hour of the first day. And it's going to be a buggy ride for all of us. There are 7 different main projects within this system of mine. And the third one will be going back to the moon. And I'll have my own fleet of vehicles by then. And I'll start construction of them. And NASA's gonna love this. The first place I'm going, there are 12 different sites. The 12 sites that NASA told us not to go to. I'm going to all 12. We'll find out what's there. I don't know if there's anybody on the moon or not. I have a gut suspicion there is. Do you know we have a society set up to preserve all the landing sites of the moon? Now you think about that. What if you owned the moon? You lived there. Did anybody bother asking you that? Do you know, I have a theory like everybody else. I think I know why we got tossed off the moon. And it's not that deep state conspiracy thing. It's really pretty simple. Do you know how much junk we left on the moon? 200 tons, 400,000 pounds. There's 96 bags of feces laying up there. Astronauts had to go somewhere. They just toss it out. So imagine you littered 400,000 pounds of junk all over the surface. You're coming to stay there permanently, and you ain't even got there yet. You put nearly 500,000 pounds of junk on the moon. So if you own the moon and we're up on your roof, what's your opinion about that? You would walk out there and tell us, take some pictures, gather up a few rocks, and then get off our damn moon. Don't ever come back here, you bunch of pigs. I think we got thrown out for littering. So my first proposal, if I make contact, apologize for the mess, be willing to go pick up 400,000 pounds of junk and bring it back. You know what you do with all the junk? You go to Sotheby's. You auction it off. You pay for your entire program. What would people pay for 96 bags of feces? A bunch. So anyway, you clean up the moon and then get off on the right foot. Ask permission. What can we do or not do? It's their home. But we'll find out. I don't know if there's anybody there or not, but I want to go and find out.
When you say you don't know if anybody's there, are we referring to humans, secret?
No, it'd be. There's such strange anomalies with the moon. I could go for days. For instance, a very simple thing you can do on the blackboard. I can show you mathematically. The Earth does not have the mass to capture a satellite as big as our moon is. If you look at the 2 moons of Mars, Phobos and Deimos, they look like Idaho potatoes. And that they're relatively correct in proportion to size that Mars could capture such moons. Look at the size of our moon. You can take the continent of North America and put it on the face of the moon. So times 2. That's a huge area. And that brings us to another topic. People go, why do you want to go back to the moon? We've already been there. We know what's there. Like hell you do. If you take all the square footage and square area that the lunar rovers did in the 6 landings, put it together, it's not even the size of the Mall of America with its parking lots. Now put that on the continent of North America, it's just a dot, times 2. You haven't even explored 1/2 of 1% of the moon. You have no idea what's up there. So it's ludicrous that somebody would say, oh, we've already been there and explored that. You have not. And that's why we need to go back to the moon. And there's another project of my first 7. And once I get there, whether somebody's living there or not, we'll get through that part. Next part is start mining helium-3. And I've already laid out a detailed project that's taken me 4 decades to work out. And I shared this with China 30 years ago. Where's China right now with the moon? They're on the backside mining helium-3. It's my devices they're using. But that's okay. At least they did me a favor. I know I went from theory to fact. My stuff works. I didn't know the little boogers were going to go up there and mine the moon, but they did. You know, God bless them. Good for them. But there's enormous amounts of helium-3 on the surface of the moon, and definitely want to get hold of that. And I can bring that back and feed it into my reactors. And you'll want to do so because if you study helium-3, what it would do with fusion and fission reactors of here, in the present state that they're in now, their efficiency would about quadruple. And radiation levels would drop tremendous. And that's not even counting the other reactors I'm building. I got 2 reactors. One is a thorium reactor and the other is a fusion containment. So it's a multi-level program that I have running.
Do you believe that there are any ancient buildings on the moon? And if so, do you think it was down to the conclusions of the Brookings Institute as to why the general public were not told of any of them discoveries?
I'm careful about telling you things. If I tell you something, it's because I've had my hands on it. I've touched it. You know, I work in labs. I build things. So very much a touchy-feely, researcher, explorer. I have looked at some of the photos of the structures on the moon. I can't say conclusively what they are, but I will tell you this. They're like crop circles. They're real, and they definitely warrant serious looking at and returning to. You got a big tower out there. You got an arch, like the St. Louis Arch. But these structures are huge compared to ones on Earth. You got a thing that looks like a moon base. Looks like somebody took a Galaxy class ship from Star Trek and slid it into home and threw dirt up around it and said the moon base. I don't know what that is, but let's go see. Some of the structures are so smooth, they're not made out of indigenous material of the moon. So what are they? Let's go find out. So I don't know for sure, but if this was a fire, there's a lot of smoke. There's a fire somewhere. And just the way NASA has behaved over the last decades, I mean, just look at the situation today. In a few days here, we're going to be at the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. 50 years later, I can't even get a human being off the planet. Who would have thought that? Back in 1969, I could hurl 450 tons of equipment to the moon and back, 500,000-mile round trip. And that was 50 years ago. Today, I can't even go to the moon. I can't even get into space now. You've done shut everything down. So why is that? You know, why did you burn the Pinta and the Santa Maria and the ships that Columbus was on? We did the same. We did just that. We came back and burned our ships. Pad 37A and B at the Cape is nothing but slabs of concrete. They cut the structures down and sold it for scrap iron to China. I can't and put all the space shuttles in the museum and then told us it's time to celebrate. I shot my TV that day.
Why have they done that? Why are we not still going to the moon? Why have they literally grounded all the shuttles?
That's a really excellent question. I don't have a logical answer to tell you. There's nothing that makes sense unless there's another part of the story we have not been told. You know, they ran us off and then we're not allowed to come back. There's no reason for us. We're 50 years in the future. And where are we? Did we go forwards or backwards? We went backwards. We ain't even got a way to get off the planet now.
Is it possible, though, the secret space program is real and that is what the secret space program actually is? We are back up in the moon, but we're not being told and we're not seeing it.
You know, that's been proposed to me so many times, and I have to admit, I have sat and pondered this whole question quite a bit. But the secret space program where you, if I understand it right, they pick you up, shoot you into time, run a 20-year career, and come back to the exact same moment in time. Isn't that convenient? No evidence, nothing. So no, I can't go with that. I just don't believe.
See, for me, that's the extreme level of secret space program,
yeah.
Conspiracy world. But what about a real secret military kind of space program where we are still going to the moon, but they don't want the public to actually know about it?
Well, here's the problem with that. You have amateur astronomers by the millions all over the planet. And with today's technology, their little telescopes are significant. You just look at a commercial Celestron telescope. That thing you can really see. Somebody would have seen something coming and going. Unless they're completely stealth, and then there's, you know, like cloaked vehicles of Klingons.
Do you think we've got that technology yet?
Honestly, I wouldn't put it past that we do. I'm pretty sure we do, because back in 1971, the stuff that I saw that was there was a good 50 to 100 years ahead. So imagine what they got today. So if they're going in that roadway or that path, they should be really significantly far ahead, and they would have stuff like that. Once again, I'm just working with 3D manufacturing, real world stuff, you know, liquid fuel rockets, slow as they are. I can boost them up a little bit where they're going to be fairly better. But because I have my own launch port and where I'm physically located on the globe, I'm going to do something NASA never had the balls to do. I'm launching nuclear reactors. They'll be unassembled. All you have to do is drop in the fuel. The fuel will be with the occupants in the shielded area, but I'm taking nuclear power to orbit with me because that's a game changer. That's where you want nuclear power, in space, because if it leaks, so what? The universe eats it, it's food. So you're not contaminating anything, but the power you would have is unimaginable. So some nuclear powered rocket engines would get us to the moon in a single day, would get us to Mars in less than 3 months, probably a month. It depends on once I start working with them. But I will be able to do a lot more than any space program has done on this planet yet. And I don't know why everybody's been so slow. And funding's been one big reason. But if this funding, if this funding is real, man, y'all gonna buckle up. It's gonna be a bumpy ride, because, man, I'll show you a program you're not gonna believe. And you're gonna be looking at it going, is that guy for real? I mean, it's like, you know, I'll be operating very much like Zachary Cochran, father of warp drive of Star Trek.
And so, you can do it all on Facebook Live. Yeah.
And I have it laid out where the island would be, it's an inner and outer perimeter. The outer perimeter would be a naval blockade by the host country. Anybody coming to work for me, it's going to be a Manhattan Project style program, which means that you and your family will move on to the island, but you will have no cell phones, no regular phones, no laptops, modem. You have personal communication devices that operate within the island. That's it. So I completely blanket everything out. We did it in the middle of World War called Manhattan Project. I'm just replicating the Manhattan Project. Now, on the flip side, what I will be broadcasting out will be, depends on what my schedules are, daily or weekly YouTube events. And I'll take you around and show you what we're doing, how far we're moving along, and keep you up to date with everything. Total transparency. I want you to know what I'm doing and what I plan to do, and even give you my schedules. And so it's kind of almost like an oxymoron. I'm locked up tied to the drum, but I'm going to be available daily. So, but it's controlled, because I know when I start heading toward the moon, NASA, Langley, all that crowd is going to be very unfriendly. They're going to be looking a way to punch holes in things, literally. They're not even going to be able to get onto the facility or talk to anyone. So I'm quite serious about this, and I can make this happen. The one thing that you've been lacking on this planet forever, since von Braun, you have no leadership anywhere, much less in the space program. You know, like, you forget about that. No, get me there. I'll show you what leadership looks like. And you'll make decisions that I don't care whether you like it or not. I'll determine what's best, works best for us. But the end result of everything I'm doing, not one bit of this is for me. Not one. I'm 65. I should go home and retire, go fishing, right? Instead, I'm like Colonel Sanders. I'm starting KFC at 70 like he did. I'll start all this, and it's for everybody on the planet. I mean everybody, not just the United States, but every country on this globe. Everybody should benefit. Everybody should know what's going on, and everyone should feel included. And I'll be working with states that America's going to have a conniption about. Yeah, I'm going to help Soviet Union, Iran, North Korea, name them. It's all they're all countries on the planet. Particular areas I'll be doing, among my other programs, I'll be hardening their grids, protecting them from a CME strike. People go, well, that sounds traitorous. They're not offensive weapons, they're defensive. Why would I be doing that? I can't afford to have the continent of China and the Soviet Union on fire. If they're on fire, they're going to throw enough smoke in the atmosphere, blot out the sun for 2 years. All vegetation life dies, all animal, us, will die. So can't have a CME come roaring in here like it did in the Carrington event in 1869. You need everybody hardened, and pretty much null out the EMP weapons, which, like, that's a bad thing. Yeah, I trade for that, but it will, if anything, create stability on the planet. People feel a little bit more secure about things, and pretty much protect you from EMP and CMEs, both. And that's a good, and I will give the technology to these other countries. I'm not even going to charge you for it. I'm going to charge you for the equipment, which is old 50s equipment. Not talking rocket science here, y'all. To harden the grid, you use capacitors, diverters, surge protectors, Faraday cages. It's all 50 stuff. We just never had any leadership to put the things in place. Our electric grid, planet-wide, is a fragile butterfly wing, and it can be taken out instantly. And on July 23rd, 2012, type that in your internet. Look what happened that day. We almost died. Not one, not two, but 3 CMEs were coming at us in a row. Perfect CME storm. A CME is a ball of sweat, like you do your forehead. The sun throws off balls of sweat. These balls of sweat, though, are the size and mass of Mount Everest, 29,000 foot mountain. There were 3 of them in a row heading right for us, going to hit us dead center. The first one would have blown the Van Allen radiation belt out. 2 and 3 would have cascaded over the planet, and everything electronic on this planet would have been gone. All aircraft would have crashed on the ground. All the continents are on fire. No way to put them out. Smoke would have rolled out. This would have happened on July 23rd. This story was not released until 2 years later, 2014. They talked about it. But if those CMEs had hit us on July 23rd, it would have taken about 6 months for everything to go in effect, for the smoke to blot out the sun. The last person would have died around 6 months later. Ironically, the date would have rolled out to be December 22nd, 2012. The Mayans were right. Not bad for a group of people who didn't even have a computer. So what happened? Something bumped these 3 CMEs in between the orbit of the asteroid belt and Mars. They came 93 million miles away, and when they went past us, they were so close, they were between the moon and us. 110,000 miles. They just slided right by. So whatever that bump was, it made it just enough to miss us. Well, what's that bump? Well, officially it's called a phenomenon or an anomaly. Fancy words saying we don't have a clue what it was. Maybe it was Mr. Spock out there on the Enterprise. But I don't know. But we should have bought it that day, but we didn't. And that's documented all over the internet. Read up on it. So I want to fix it where CMEs come in again like that at us. It won't bother a thing. We'll just have a really spectacular Aurora Borealis light show that night. And next day, nothing. We'll be just fine. No CME has ever harmed any plant or animal. It's just hell on electronics, especially the digital. And everything we got is digital now. So we're so vulnerable, it's not funny. So I want to fix that.
Just take you back to the moon. Then it seems UFOs are also seen around our moon, and it seems in some cases they look to be coming out of the moon. Now there are also some positive magnetic anomalies on the moon, but only in a small concentrated area on the far side. I was wondering what your thoughts are on them.
I'm familiar with that. I've looked at some of the data that they're looking at. Once again, I hadn't been there, hadn't touched it, don't know, but I suspect there's things going on, and your really hotbed of activity is going to be on the dark side. That's another thing about our moon. Remember I said earlier I could go on for hours. Our moon is in a tidal lock, meaning that it doesn't rotate. That's not normal. We never see the backside of the moon. The moon's too big for us to capture. And then there's a statement by the astrophysicists themselves, and they kind of let it slip. They'll tell you that when the moon got here, do you know it stopped only 22,000 miles away from Earth? That's geosynchronous orbit. And it's been moving 1.5 inches back every year. And now it's out 248,000 miles. Do you realize that moon was only 22,000 miles away? You'd step out back, talk about a full moon. The entire horizon would be covered by the moon. Now here's my question. Unless I completely misunderstood all my life about celestial mechanics, a mass that big coming into the Earth, how does it stop? Because it should just slowly plow right into the Earth and just, be a mess. But it stopped. So how did it do that? Well, somebody probably turned the engines off. I don't know. But there's just so much with the moon that going on with it that we can't explain things, and it just doesn't make sense. And they just don't even bother talking about it. And that's not science. You don't, because something doesn't fit your little pigeonhole, you don't want to talk about it. Man, what? That's lame. You don't do science like that. You get in there and you research. You find out what's going on. And if you can't get the questions answered, you go there and start stomping around on the place and digging up stuff and finding things.
You mentioned a moment ago about the CMEs coming in, but there was a phenomena or something that corrected it for us. What do you think this phenomena is? Is it playing with us? Is it here to protect us? What are these UFO crafts?
Excellent questions, all of it. Obviously, if they bumped it, they're trying to protect us, because that would have killed us all. We would all have died. We'd been gone. So if they were hostile, they would just let the CMEs roll on and take us out. If they wanted our resources of the planet, once again, they could do that. Instead, they did the opposite. They intervened. That would indicate they want to keep us around for some reason. Now, maybe they want to keep us around because we look like blue plate specials to them. Maybe they want to eat us. I don't know. Or they care about us and want to work. It's time that we make contact if they're there. And it's to sit around in the dark and you got neighbors next door that won't even talk to you. Probably because you pissed them off because you done littered the place so bad. But you go up there and you approach it as a whole planet. Everybody, NASA is privy to stuff. And NASA, when it got started in 1958, that thing was an extension of the CIA. So it's been in that elitist status ever since day one, and I have personally dealt with that stuff, and it's a nasty bunch of people. And they don't give a hoot about us at all. And the space program, that should be a universal denominator on the planet. Everybody's involved in that. So when you go out there and meet something, it's going to affect your life. So everybody, an Aborigine should know about it. Eskimos, everybody. And so that's what I intend to do. Make it a universal accepted program where we all can at least agree on one thing of what we're doing and how we're going at it.
We a couple of days away from 50th anniversary Apollo 11.
Yeah.
Quick answer. Did we land?
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's a huge conspiracy. It's all fake. It's all a hoax.
Well, you're really lucky to have me here. I mean that humbly. Let me tell you where I'm at on this. I hate the question, and it comes up at dinner. Where were you when Neil Armstrong was walking on the moon? And they go around the table and they come up to me and I go, I got two choices, lie or tell the truth. Most of the time I lie. My lie is I was at home watching on TV. You want to know where I really was? I was leaning back against the knees of Viola Armstrong, Neil's mother. I am in 𝗪𝗓𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗘, Ohio, at his home. And when Neil was sleeping on the moon that night, I was sleeping in his childhood bed. Viola Armstrong was my surrogate mother. I grew up in that world with them. And I knew Neil well, but Neil wasn't who I was going to see when I come over all the time. They only lived an hour by car from my house. I was in Centerburg, Ohio. They're over in 𝗪𝗓𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗘. I'd come running in. Neil might be visiting. Hi, Neil. And run right past him. He goes, Mom's in the backyard. So I go in the backyard because that's where our canning stuff was, where we canned vegetables. She and I became really close friends. Well, how'd that happen? Neil got selected to be the first man on the moon. Now she is the mother of the first man on the moon. That makes her a dignitary. So she's the one that would go around in Ohio hanging medals around winners' necks. And after about the 8th or 9th medal she hung on my neck, in 4 weeks, she's going, what are you doing, child? I said, I guess I'm busy. She said, come over to my house and let's meet and talk. And we became friends. And she taught me how to can. Now, Armstrongs are German, and there was a bunch of Germans came into Ohio in the beginning of our country, and they had a huge farms, potato farms, and they became a co-op. So in the fall, they harvest all their food, and then they share it among the families. And so you start canning. So when we can, Viola and I didn't can 400 or 500 jars, and that's it. It's more like 10, 12,000 jars because it's co-op. So I had like an assembly line out back with all my bottles and my lids, and I was prepping and blanching, and she was the other women were packing and cutting and prepping. Anyway, it was a lot of fun in canning. I had so much fun with her. But I ran past Neil, and Viola came up to me one day and she said, now just imagine this statement. The mother of the first man on the moon comes up to you and says to you, David, Neil said something today about you. I said, yeah, what? He said, Mom, if I didn't get out of the way fast enough, I think David would put a footprint on my head to get there, back to you. And I said, oh, I didn't hurt his feelings, did I? She said, I don't know, but could you make some time to talk to him? Can you imagine you being asked that question? First man on the moon, can you make some time and talk to him? Yeah. So I sat down and talked to Neil. But I knew Neil. I know so many personal, intimate stories on Neil. There's a lot of them I just can't. I promise Viola I wouldn't say. But there's some really cool stories with him.
Was he a good guy?
Very. He was a Boy Scout. He was the last of the Boy Scouts.
Was he honest?
He was actually an Eagle Scout. Very honest.
Did he change when he come back from the moon?
Something happened. Neil was always stoic, like a Mr. Spock. But I can tell, I've been around him so long, body language stuff. I know if he doesn't want to answer a question, he just won't talk, or he'll smile and walk off, or he'll just change to something else. I had to ask him, I said, man, did you run anything strange up there? Anybody up there? And he didn't say no. He just said, there's just all kinds of things that went on up there. And I was looking at his face and I'm going, man, something went on up there.
Do you think he took those secrets to the grave?
Yes.
About his mum? Would he have shared them with his mum? Or?
Yeah, he did. She shared some things with me. But there was still some things between a mother and son I couldn't even get into. But I was a close member of the family. All of that's been proven in a book written by the great nephew of Viola. He called me, and he is 𝗪𝗪𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗘. And 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗘, he pulled Viola's personal effects out of her collection of memoirs to write a book. And they opened up this box, and it's just stacks and stacks of letters tied in ribbons. And they were letters between her and I. And he said, who are you? The family don't know anything about you. I said, well, Viola and I planned it that way. We both had a paparazzi problem. So we didn't want anybody to know about us hanging out together. So we just kept it quiet. And they said, I have all these personal gifts from her. Her handwriting, I was going to bring a book with me. I just forgot to bring it. But she gave me a book on my 18th graduation. And it's called, it's Russell Cromwell's Acres of Diamonds. But her handwriting looks like a machine. Just beautiful penmanship. Well, they looked at the handwriting, Jay did, and all the letters, and the family verified that it's real. Said, man, you are who you say. Here it all is. And we didn't know anything about you. But I do have some great stories. You all know the one about Mr. 𝗪𝗧𝗧.
Yeah, we know the BJ one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was you didn't want to say that one, but that one occurred. But there is one other story I can let you in on. Neil and his uncle were baling hay one day. Neil's about 14 years old, and a plane comes into the field. It's on fire, smoking. It crashed badly, so they ride over and they pull the pilot out. He's hurt bad. He's dying. Neil stays with the pilot while the uncle gets help. And the pilot is, in Neil's lap. And the pilot tells Neil, he said, you think you ever like to fly, kid? And Neil goes, of course. He said, don't let this accident throw you off. This is really rare. He said, go ahead and fly. He said, it's the best thing in the world you can do. And he dies. And that was a real moving experience for Neil, but hardly anybody knows that story. Tell you another incident. When Neil, when Neil found out he was the first man on the moon selected, when he got back to Viola's house, he come running in the house screaming, I've been selected. Startled her so bad, she dropped a jar of blackberry jam on her right big toe and broke it. And so I told Neil, I said, next time you run in and say something, take it easy on my partner there. She's got to stand on that foot.
Did you ever hear any stories about Buzz Aldrin or Michael Collins come back to you through the family?
Buzz I knew. I never got to meet Michael, but Buzz I knew. I actually knew him. I saw him many a time. I lived in L.A. He lives on Wilshire Boulevard in L.A.
Is he crazy?